I truly love the potential that Kwity Paye has shown in this preseason and in training camp in general. He's truly shown the Colts his potential of what he can bring to the Indianapolis Colts pass rush and edge and defensive line in general. Kwity Paye is a solid draft pick. He's definitely going down at as one of my favorites for this year's draft. There are some Colts fans that didn't like this draft in general because some people suggested us to get an offensive tackle, due to us not having one at all after Costozo's retirement and everything. We didn't have a left tackle, but they didn't know that Ballard had Eric Fisher in plan, even though he is going to be missing a few weeks going into next year. But Kwity Paye, I think, is a solid draft pick because you need an edge rush. One of those things we were missing last year all around in general. Like we had good run stopping ability. That's normal. But when you look in general at the edge rush to go contain the quarterback or to force crazy passes, to go get, the secondary out there to go get some swats or some interceptions, we lacked that. We really did. We were way too slow on the edge out there with Houston. We were swapping around. Teray was still banged up with injuries, and we just didn't have a true edge coming off of that side. So now that we have Kwity Paye, he's shown his flashes in the preseason. That strip fumble and that sack the week before last week, it just showed you how good he can really be going into next year. And you're lining him up next to a DeForest Buckner or Grover Stewart. It's going to be a sight to watch for sure. It's truly going to be a sight to watch. And having that is really going to boost the secondary's ability because we all know our defense is going to get dotted up due to that zone. That zone coverage is going to get dotted up. Middle of the field is going to be open pretty much 60 to 75% of the time. But when you have a good edge rush, it's going to limit those dots up the middle of the field because we need the quarterback to force a crazy pass that he doesn't originally want to do. And look, even if he's eyeing down a certain target, edge rushes are going to get more strip fumbles because they're going to be hit blindsiding the quarterback because they're not going to see it coming. But, adding Kwity Paye to that defensive line, Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner already has to get double teamed because they're just menaces. Grover Stewart had a very solid season last year, and DeForest Buckner was pretty much being himself, forcing the double team, and now having Teray coming back healthy. He's shown his flashes in the preseason and in camp. And now you add Kwity Paye, who's showing his flashes. The offensive lines are going to really have to be battle tested going up against us because they have to double team a few players. And you can't double team everyone because it's going to leave somebody open to come through. Maybe we may get Kenny Moore. He might get the most sacks he's ever had in his career this year if he's blitzing. Kenny Moore might have a very good year this year because we know how good he is in that nickel position and how he is to go get that quarterback as well. If we're sending a lot of all-out blitz, if we're sending some blitzes, we can pretty much be a scary team if it works effectively. We're just going to need our secondary to really step up if we're sending more than 4 people to go get the quarterback. And that's just the question that's going to be thrown up in the air. Can our secondary be good enough for our pass rush to try to contain the quarterback? Can our secondary be good enough? Because, we blitz often. So we're going to be putting a lot of QBs, a lot of corners on the island. They're going to be lined up one-on-one in certain zones. And we literally seen how the zone defense worked last night. The night before. Even though it was a preseason game, we literally were showing some certain schemes. Even though we're going to have our veterans out there and it's not going to be practice squad players, it's still going to leave a question at hand. How good can we really look? Now, of course, we needed our veterans in that last game. The Lions, the preseason game, I feel like if we would have had our vets out there, it would have been a way different outcome. But that's just the potential of the players trying to make the roster. So it's no knock on anyone at all. It's just, practice squad versus practice squad in general. But when you add the scheme that we're running and you add the vets into that scheme, the linebackers, Bobby Okereke, the Darius Leonards, the EJ Speeds, even though he's banged up, the Franklins, when you add those guys into the scheme that we're running, I feel like it'll be a way better outcome than what we've seen. The tackling, I feel like the tackling will be better. We're going to have Rhodes out there. We're going to have TJ Carey, Blackman, Kari Willis, all these guys out there. all those plays that were missed, I feel like we can really do those plays. I feel like it'll be more successful with our starters out there on the field. So I mean, I was watching those preseason games. Looking at Kwity Paye was very nice. The plays Ben Bandicoot could have had. You're gonna have another guy like Teray or Grover Stewart or DeForest Buckner try to make those type of plays. But when you look at that, or Al-Qadim Muhammad, or he can make those type of plays as well. But overall in general, the linebackers will be pretty solid there. The secondary with Kari Willis, I feel like he's going to have a very good year next year. Next season he's going to be pretty solid. But I think overall in general, I think we'll be a pretty decent team next year. Adding Kwity Paye's potential of what we've seen in this preseason, I feel like our chances and our odds of being a good team is very likely. Now, of course, Big Q and the players getting placed on COVID IR and that listing, taking these days out. We just got to be precautious with that because they're talking about forfeiting games if we're not having enough players active and all those things. If it's not safe enough, they're talking about forfeiting games. I just think player safety is important going into these games, and these players know that as well. So like I said, this is no knock on any player as well. Do what you got to do. Just stay safe. Stay safe in general. This is a very tough season for the Colts. I'm ready for it. I'm definitely ready. I still got us winning at least 10 games this year. 10 games is a decent season. It's way better than winning 7 or 8 any year. So at least if we win 10 games, that can still make us that can push us in the playoffs. Because in my opinion, when you look at the AFC, I can see maybe 2 teams winning 10 or more games. 2 teams winning 10 or more. Of course, I got about 2 or 3 teams having 10 wins or less to make the playoffs. But I think I got 2 teams. It'll be 2 teams to have 11 wins or more. It's just as simple as that. 11 wins or more, I think it's going to be 2 teams. The teams I'll tell you, I can't. But I just predict. It's going to be the Bills up there, the Chiefs up there. Those type of style teams. The Ravens can be one of those teams if they can stay healthy. But those teams like that can have. I think it'll only be 2 teams that have 11 wins. There'll be about maybe 3 or 4 that have 10 wins or less, and that's pretty much how the playoffs will pan out. Even the Titans could probably have 11 wins. You never know, but I know it'll be 2 teams in the AFC that'll have that, and we'll probably be one of those teams to have 10 wins, for sure. Because our schedule is tough at the beginning, but it eases up a little bit at the end. And I think we can win a few of those key games. A lot of people have us losing the first 5 games. They have us going maybe 0-5 or 2-5 or 2-3 of that nature, or maybe even 1-4. But I think we can pull off at least 2 wins. Maybe a third game could be a game-winning field goal of that nature. But like I said, the potential for Kwity Paye is great. Adding him into the defensive line that we needed dearly is going to be a sight to see next year. We just have to stay healthy. It's just as simple as that. We have to stay healthy. The sky's the limit. A lot of people have untapped potential, but adding this edge rush to that defense really helps us a lot because the offense is going to lack, I'm pretty sure. But you guys, let me know your thoughts on Kwity Paye's potential going into the season, going into week 1 versus the Seahawks. Let me know how he plays in that game as well. Let me know your thoughts about the Colts. Everything in general, let me know in the comment section below. This is Marcus, and until next time, you've been Culture Shock.